In the heart of a grand kingdom, Queen Seraphina lived a life many would envy. Married to a kind and respected king, she had wealth, status, and beauty. But beneath her regal smile, a bitter resentment festered. She despised living in her husband's shadow, a mere consort when she believed she was born to rule. Her ambition was a ravenous fire, and she craved absolute power over the kingdom, a throne that would be hers and hers alone. To achieve this, she was willing to walk a path from which there was no return. When the moon hung high and the palace slept, Seraphina would shed her royal silks for a dark cloak, accompanied by two fiercely loyal servants, sworn to secrecy. She would slip out of the castle walls. Their destination was the Forbidden Forest, a place whispered about in fearful tones, a place where dark things stirred and from which few humans ever returned. Deep within the gnarled, ancient trees stood a crumbling, moss-covered shrine, a forgotten altar to powers older and more malevolent than the kingdom itself. This was where her dark quest would begin. At the unholy shrine, under a starless sky, the queen performed rituals long forbidden. She chanted incantations from a stolen grimoire, her voice a low hum against the eerie silence of the forest. With each forbidden word, the air grew colder, heavier. She offered sacrifices, precious heirlooms, and symbols of the kingdom's purity, spilling them onto the stone altar. In response, the shadows deepened and twisted, coalescing into monstrous forms. Ancient, wicked spirits, demons of greed and despair, answered her summons. They listened to her desires with silent amusement, their presence a suffocating weight. A pact was made. Seraphina promised them greater offerings, a steady stream of the kingdom's life force, in exchange for ultimate power. The demons, eager for a foothold in the mortal realm, agreed. Their first task was simple: to weaken the king, to break his spirit and his body, leaving the throne ripe for her taking. They gave her a small, obsidian charm, pulsing with a faint, sickly light. It was a vessel of their dark magic, a key to the king's undoing. The queen clutched it tightly, a cold smile touching her lips. The price felt small for the power she would soon wield. Returning to the palace before dawn, Seraphina moved like a phantom through the silent halls. She crept into the king's private chambers, her heart a drum of anticipation. With trembling hands, she hid the demonic charm beneath his grand, velvet-draped bed, tucking it away where it would remain unseen, but its influence would be constant. The charm began its work immediately, seeping a foul, invisible energy into the room. Within days, the once vibrant and strong king began to change. A deep weariness settled into his bones, and a fog of confusion clouded his mind. He suffered from night terrors, his health declining with alarming speed. Doctors were baffled, finding no earthly cause for his sudden and severe illness. With the king weakened, Seraphina began her political maneuvering. She artfully planted whispers in the royal court, her words like poison ivy creeping through the council chambers. She spoke of a mysterious curse, an ill omen that had befallen the king, suggesting his weakness was a sign from the heavens that his rule was over. She played the part of the grieving, concerned wife perfectly, all while subtly guiding the council of elders. She influenced them to question the king's judgment, to doubt his fitness to lead. Fear and uncertainty began to spread through the palace corridors, and many started to believe that the kingdom needed a stronger hand at the helm. Hers. As the king's light faded, the queen's darkness grew more apparent. Servants began to whisper amongst themselves. They saw things, fleeting, monstrous shadows that seemed to cling to the queen's silhouette, disappearing the moment they were looked at directly. In the dead of night, guards swore they saw her eyes glow with a faint, terrifying red light. An unnatural blight followed in her footsteps. Where she walked in the royal gardens, the flowers withered and died. The crops in the nearby fields began to fail, and livestock in the royal pens fell sick for no reason. The kingdom, once prosperous, began to suffer, and a chilling fear took root. The queen herself was the source of the curse. The growing darkness did not go unnoticed by everyone. A high priest, a man of profound wisdom and spiritual sensitivity, felt the shift in the palace's energy. A demonic presence, subtle but potent, had taken root within the hallowed walls. Troubled, he began his own secret investigation, using ancient rites of divination to trace the source of the malevolence. All signs, all omens, pointed to one person, the Queen. He saw visions of her nocturnal visits to the forest, of the pact she had made at the cursed shrine. The priest knew he had to act, but he needed undeniable proof to challenge a queen. Meanwhile, the king, trapped in his feverish, weakened state, was not entirely defenseless. His spirit, though battered, remained pure. One night, in a vivid, terrifying dream, he was visited by an ancestral spirit, a guardian of the royal bloodline. In this vision, the truth was laid bare. He saw his wife, Serafina, standing before a shadowy altar, offering his own kingdom to demonic entities. He saw the dark charm she had hidden in his room, pulsing with malice. He awoke with a gasp, the dream's clarity shattering his confusion. It was not a curse or an illness that plagued him, it was a betrayal of the deepest kind. His own wife was the architect of his downfall. Serafina, consumed by her new power, grew arrogant. She reveled in the council's dependency on her and the king's decline. But she had become careless in her offerings to the demons. She promised them more than she could deliver, and the ancient spirits were not known for their patience. Their whispers in her mind turned from promises of power to guttural demands. They had upheld their end of the bargain. The king was broken, and the throne was within her grasp. Now, it was time to pay the price. And the price they demanded was far greater than she had ever imagined. They wanted her soul. The final confrontation was inevitable. The wise priest, armed with his knowledge, went to the king, who confirmed the priest's fears with the story of his revelatory dream. Together, they rallied the loyal royal guards. They burst into the queen's chambers, where they found her not alone. The air was thick with otherworldly energy, and the shadows writhed as if alive. As the priest began an exorcism rite, the demonic forces Serafina had courted erupted into the open. The palace shook, and spectral claws tore through the very fabric of reality. Serafina screamed, not in triumph, but in pure terror. The demons had come to collect their due. In a vortex of screaming shadows and chaotic energy, she was dragged from the mortal world, her fate to be forever bound to the dark realm she had so foolishly invited in. With the queen gone, the demonic influence shattered. The king, freed from the curse, slowly began to recover his health and strength. The priest led a series of cleansing rituals, purging the palace and the kingdom of the lingering darkness. Sunlight, it seemed, shone a little brighter, and the land began to heal. Life returned to normal, but the memory of the ordeal remained. The people never forgot the dark chapter in their history, and Queen Serafina was forever remembered not by her title or her beauty, but as the queen who walked with demons. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more tales from the shadows.